Hello, everyone. Welcome back to what's coming out in the world of indie. If you've listened to any of these episodes, the intro is exactly the same every week as it always is. Of course, I'm your host, Odrin Johnson, joined as always by the wonderful, ever so amazing, and extravagant Mike Soak. I thought I'd mix it up a little bit this week, add a few more syllables in.
Make me more uncomfortable with compliments I can't handle.
Next week, I'll be like joined by the absolutely awful, disgusting Mike Zoke.
I can
Um,
handle that better, funny enough.
It reminds me of I don't know, you don't watch Philip DeFranco, but he always starts off his stuff with hit the like button if you want me to punch you in the throat, which is a thing that his fans started, and now that's kind of just the intro. So maybe we should have something similar. Um, but I don't feel comfortable telling people to do that, so we'll keep going at what we have at the moment. Um, as you may have noticed from the title, we have less indie games this week, but that is because, as Mike recently told me, there isn't a lot coming out this week, or at least not a lot that has been heavily publicized that we would actually know about yet. So there may be a few little gems hiding in there, and if we have missed out on them, please let us know in the comments below, because we, as all of you, I'm sure, are looking for that next indie fix that we can get a look at. But there is some really good games coming out regardless, the four that we have on option today. I want to talk first of all about the first game we're going into, Dropsy, which I believe you told me before recording is getting ported over to consoles, originally released back in 7 years ago. But give me a bit more details about this game, Mike.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard about Dropsy, nobody's gonna blame you. It's kind of an under the radar indie darling. It's never been talked about a lot. I only discovered it, I think, like 2 years ago. When I was looking up I was trying to write a weirdest games of all time article, and I happened upon Dropsy. Um, Dropsy's weird. It is a point and click hug venture where you play as a clown that just wants to hug everybody. So you walk around and interact with all kinds of characters in this pixel art styled 2D walking kind of point and click game, and you're hugging people. Um, Unfortunately, you look like a scary clown, so some people are scared of you. You get beat up by a cop, you get harassed by people, you scare the children, but all you want to do is spread love and give hugs. So it's a very sweet little point and click adventure game. That's basically the main theme is, don't judge a book by its cover. You may look like a creepy little clown, but really you're just a kind guy that wants to spread love. So it has a really wholesome story. There's really not any like dialogue or text in it. It's all just like expression based. You see everything from like people's faces and the faces that Dropsy himself makes. He is like very expressionate with his face, even though it's like pixel styled and he has like a clown mask on. You can still tell like every emotion that he's feeling. So it's a rather unique game in that aspect, and I'm very happy to see that Devolver Digital has decided to give it new life, because it really is just a weird and wonderful game.
Mm-hmm. And when we're looking at obviously point and click adventures, what are we looking at in terms of difficulty? Would you imagine, is it similar to the
This
sort
is
of
going
the
to
old
be one of the
LucasArts or
easiest point and click adventure
okay?
games you have ever played. There's like not any puzzles really or anything like that. It's basically you almost are the entire game basically just walking straight across the screen and interacting with the people that are in front of you. Like
Mhm.
that's 90% of the game. It's a very user friendly, very it's not going to be any Return to Monkey Island uh, painstakingly difficult point and clicking.
Mhm. Well, if your fantasy is to be a clown and hug people who are scared of you, well, then this is the game for you. It seems like, as you mentioned, obviously very weird, and I'm not surprised it made
Juggalos
that
will
list you were
enjoy.
working on. Yeah, very much so. Next on the list, obviously, all of our games actually this week come out on the 29th. So I mean, binge them all that day if you want, or spread them out. I honestly don't care. But mostly for the fact, obviously that came out rude. I don't care, but also, yeah, I do kind of care. But coming up next on the list on the 29th, we have Moonbreaker, which is one I'm actually really interested in because it's made by the same developers who made Subnautica, although it's a completely different genre and style. Tell people a little bit more about Mike.
Okay, so I recently got into the writing works of an author called Brandon Sanderson, and he is amazing. Immediately one of the best authors that I've ever had the pleasure of reading, and Moonbreaker is a game that is completely his new universe, his story, his writing. But it is basically a digitized tabletop RPG. down to you being able to paint and design your own miniatures. So it's kind of like a turn-based, strategy-based RPG type game where you have actual minifigures that you're moving across the map. There is a story, there is lore. It's all written by Brandon Sanderson. We haven't gotten a whole lot of details about what the story contains yet,
Mhm.
but knowing Brandon Sanderson, it is going to be phenomenal. The
Mhm.
little bit that we've heard of the voice acting and like the character lines has already like been breathtaking. How varied everything is, because you're supposed to be able to like alter like every aspect of your miniatures as you collect new pieces and new cards and abilities and stuff throughout the game. So I think fans of tabletop RPGs, of isometric RPGs like the Wasteland series or the original Fallouts and games like that, Moonbreaker is going to be a game for you, because it is basically just a sci-fi epic tabletop RPG made in video game form, and I am just on board 100%.
Yeah, I'm the exact same. I mean, I'm not a huge tabletop player, mainly just because I don't have sort of the people around me that would play it as well. But I absolutely love, specifically from this game, the aspect of being able to paint your own miniatures.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so
I
cool.
just like anything that will not make me drop like hundreds of euros on like miniature figures and then painting on them only for them to end up terrible and not be able to be changed again. The fact I can do this all through this game is phenomenal, and I'll probably spend most of my time just painting the miniatures rather than actually playing the game.
Yep, I know. I was like, they could have just made the miniature painting its own game, and people would have bought it. Like, I would have bought just the miniature painting part. Like,
Yeah,
that would have been it, and I would have been like, sold,
I'm
done.
so tempted. Yeah, I'm
Just
genuinely
like
just
also give me like a shelf and like let me place them on my
oh
shelf how I
yes.
want. I would done. That would be like my game of the year, honestly. Like, screw every other game. If I could just paint miniatures and then like make my own dioramas on my shelf.
Yeah. I mean, I'm picking this game up solely for the fact that I can hopefully stream it here and it just be the painting. I'm not going to play the game at all, just do the painting on stream. I feel like
It
that's a
would
nice
be a good
Bob
streaming
Ross,
game for that
yeah,
reason.
Bob Ross chill stream. If I mess up, it doesn't matter. It's just accidental mistakes, beautiful little clouds. Um, moving on from that, another game that I'm actually really interested in because I really love the publisher for these sorts of games, No More Robots.
Yes.
Let's Build a Zoo. Is this getting ported? Because I believe it was out
It
before,
is.
was
It's
it?
only
Yes.
on PC currently, but it's getting released on PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch, and as well as Xbox Game Pass on the 29th. Um, it is basically the most messed up version of Zoo Tycoon that you can possibly imagine. You can combine any kind of animal with any other kind of animal. My favorite combination that I've seen so far is the chick cow. It
Hmm.
is part chicken, part cow, and it is glorious. Okay, but basically, you are running your own zoo. Um, you can control the prices, the exhibits, the breeding of the animals. Any animal can breed with any other animal to create some form of monstrosity. So there are hundreds of thousands of animals that you can come across in this game, which is mind-boggling. I don't believe the dinosaur DLC is coming along with this port. That's
Hmm.
currently on PC, but hopefully the dinosaur DLC will follow along the main game eventually as well, because then you can take all of the original animals from the base game and also interbreed them with dinosaurs, which is awesome. Um, but yeah, let's build a zoo. It's Zoo Tycoon. Like, if you don't know what that is, look it up. You run a zoo. You build the exhibits. You get money. You change the prices. You can just price gouge people. Like, you can make it like $500,000 to get into your zoo, and people will just eat you up. It's phenomenal. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, to me, it definitely sounds like a parody of like those later Jurassic World films where they're like
Yeah,
interbreeding or creating their own dinosaurs. It's just like, what if
yeah.
we did it with a sheep? So I mean, that sounds interesting. Tycoon games have never really been my thing, but I feel like maybe given the sort
I
of
feel like this one has the
dream ridiculous
humor
nature,
element that will
yeah.
really help, and just like the diverse element, because no tycoon game has this breeding aspect where you can literally get hundreds of thousands of different animals in it. Like,
Hmm.
I'll be playing just to see what kind of combinations I can make. What the fuck's gonna happen when I breed an alligator with a cat? I don't know. An alligator? I want to know.
Yeah, for sure. That's also coming out on the 29th. And then the final game for the week is I believe, on this list for me and me alone. It
Yes, this
is
is Odrin's game of the
my
week.
yeah, it's my sort of game. I really loved Townscaper, which was obviously a game
Yes,
released by
that was the game
Raw
I was going to
Fury.
compare it to.
Yeah, Dwarframatic comes out the 29th. I was immediately drawn to this when I watched the trailer, and they described it as a wholesome experience. And I mean, you mentioned the word wholesome in any trailer. It's on my wish list. It will be bought day one. Throw us a bit more information about it.
So, Dwarfromantic is kind of like Townscaper meets like mini Metro. You're basically expanding civilization through this tile placing gameplay mechanic. If you're familiar with board games at all, it's kind of like Catan, where you're kind of placing your tiles all around and stuff like that. So it has these hexagons. You can collect new hexagons that have different landscapes, different cities, different railroads, different roads, different forests, farms, all kinds of stuff. But there's really not like a point to the game, right? You're not trying to complete an objective. You're just vibing, right? You're just building a nice city. You're not colonizing anything like you are in Catan. Nothing like that. You're literally building the world. There's nothing. There's nothing around. Imagine this as like you were building the world for your miniatures for Moonbreaker to live on. You are building the map of a table RPG is essentially what you were doing in this. And I mean, you can connect railroads. Are you still there?
Okay, so hello. You're probably wondering what has happened to my video. Why is the podcast part cut out? Where's the lovely mic soak? Long story short, we had a problem with internet connection while recording, and you may have noticed kind of near the end of where Mike is talking at that last segment, I'm kind of just completely uninterested. That isn't because I think this game is terrible. I absolutely love it. It's actually because I had dropped out of the call at that stage and it kept recording both our screens randomly. That's what Zencaster tends to do when you're in a call together. Um, but we were lucky enough that that was the last game, and Mike pretty much summed up that final game. So recording it again, we tried that, and for some reason, I think maybe I hit a button that paused it. So it was a mix of both bad internet connection and my own stupidity that this episode is ending kind of abruptly this week. I'll end by saying though that usually I always kind of point towards Social Gaming Sandbox, which I think you should all go and check out, and of course our Patreon if you like to fund our show. But as always, you should definitely go and check out Mike Zoe because they really bring this show together, and it's absolutely phenomenal doing it every week. Mike can be found over on Twitter at Mike Zoke, and Indie Game Tracker can be found as well over there, and they're all linked in the description below. To make up for sort of the abrupt ending, and of course the terrible camera, which first of all I just want to explain is because I'm waiting on a new camera to come and this angle is very unflattering, but I'm doing my best. To make up for the abrupt ending, I am going to play a little bit of a clip that Mike kind of told me would be quite funny to have in the thing for an outro, which is him pretty much serenading me as he attempts to figure out whether I'm still connected to the call. So that'll be a nice ending to the episode this week. Maybe I'll put some nice little music undertoning it. I mean, I have an artlist.io subscription. This isn't a sponsor, but I need to get the most out of it because I'm paying money for it. So yeah, I'll add music in and you can enjoy that while you finish out this episode and hopefully wishlist or buy at this stage because it's coming out, buy all of the amazing games we've talked about. But thank you so much for watching. If there's anything we've missed this week in terms of indie games that maybe didn't pop up on our radar that you think deserve a bit of notice, please let us know in the comments below. And if you played any of the games we mentioned, it's always great to hear your thoughts on them and whether we should do a dive into them ourselves. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week. Bye.
Odrin. Oh, Odrin. Odrin. Do, 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 do. Odrin. 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 Where's Odrin? Ooh, 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 ooh. Odrin. Where'd he go? Ooh. We're really great. If you can still hear me, Odrin, you are fine.